You were never taught to protect your strategy. You were taught to share it. From the moment you were old enough to have ambitions, the world around you conditioned a specific behavior into your psychology. Tell people what you are doing. Tell your family. Tell your friends. Post it. Announce it. Make it known. The culture sold this to you as accountability, as authenticity, as community. What it actually was, and what no one around you had the strategic literacy to identify, was the systematic dismantling of your power before you ever had the chance to use it. This is where it begins, not with your enemies, with your own mouth. The illusion of shared vision. There is a feeling that accompanies the moment you tell someone your plan. It is warm. It feels like momentum, like the idea is now real, now witnessed, now set in motion. Psychologists have a name for what is actually happening in that moment. Social reality, substitution. Your brain, in the act of verbalizing an ambition, begins to register the social acknowledgement as partial completion of the goal itself. The dopamine release is real. The progress is not. You told someone you were going to build the empire. Your nervous system logged it as a step toward building the empire. You have not moved a single stone. You have simply leaked the blueprint. This is not a minor cognitive error. This is the mechanism by which most people remain permanently stuck at the level of intention, endlessly announcing, endlessly receiving reactions, endlessly mistaking the conversation for the construction. Silence is not weakness. It is architecture. The untrained mind reads silence as absence, as insecurity, as someone who has nothing worth saying. This is precisely why silence is the first weapon of the sovereign operator, because it is universally misread. While the room is busy interpreting your quiet as emptiness, you are building. While they are performing their ambitions for social validation, you are executing yours in the dark. Sun Tzu did not write, "Announce your position and observe the reaction." He wrote that all warfare is based on deception. Machiavelli did not counsel the prince to share his intentions with his court. He counseled concealment, observation, and the deliberate management of what others are permitted to perceive. These were not the philosophies of paranoid men. They were the operating systems of men who understood a fundamental truth about human nature. The moment someone knows where you are going, they begin calculating whether it benefits them for you to arrive. The first identity label: you are an architect. Architects do not explain the building while it is under construction. They do not invite passers-by to critique the foundation before the walls exist. They design in private. They build in sequence. They reveal only what is structurally necessary, only when it is strategically timed. The completed structure speaks. The process remains protected. If you have been operating as an announcer, broadcasting intentions, seeking validation for plans not yet executed, measuring momentum by the reactions of others, then you have been operating below your actual intelligence. Not because you are weak, because no one ever handed you the correct frame. This video is that frame. I will show you exactly what happens inside the minds of the people you have been confiding in. I will show you the 4 archetypes already positioned around you, each holding a fragment of your strategy you voluntarily placed in their hands. And I will show you the protocol that closes the vault permanently. But first, you need to understand what is actually being activated in them. The moment you speak, you think you are inspiring them. You think you are connecting with them. You think on some level that sharing your vision with the people closest to you is an act of trust, a bridge between where you are and where you are going. built on the foundation of relationship. What you are actually doing is handing a loaded weapon to someone who has not yet decided whether they are on your side. And the most dangerous part, they have not decided that yet either. The activation sequence, the moment you disclose a significant ambition to another person, a specific and largely involuntary psychological sequence, activates inside them. It is not malicious in origin. It does not require them to be your enemy. It requires only one condition, that they are human. And every person in your life qualifies. The sequence moves in 4 stages, and it moves fast. First, threat assessment. Before any conscious thought forms, the limbic system performs an instantaneous calculation. Your ambition is registered not as inspiration, but as a data point about your trajectory relative to theirs. If you are accelerating, their nervous system records it as a potential gap, a future distance between where you will be and where they remain. This is not jealousy yet. It is older than jealousy. It is the primal calculus of social hierarchy running beneath the surface of every smile and every "that's amazing." Second, social comparison. Now the cortex engages. Now it becomes conscious. They begin measuring, quietly, rapidly, involuntarily, the distance between your stated destination and their current position. This comparison does not require them to want your specific goal. It only requires that your forward motion implies their relative stasis. The measurement is not about what you are building. It is about what your building reveals, about their standing still. Third, identity threat response. If the gap is significant enough, a defense mechanism activates. The mind begins generating counter-narratives, reasons your plan will not work, concerns about your approach, gentle questions about whether you have really thought this through. These are not offered to you as sabotage. They are generated internally as self-protection and then externalized as care. The person delivering them genuinely believes they are helping you. What they are actually doing is protecting themselves from the psychological discomfort of your ascent. Fourth, strategic repositioning. Now the information you shared becomes a variable in their own calculations. What did you tell them? Where are you going? Who are you partnering with? What resources are you gathering, consciously or not? This information is now being processed through the lens of their own interests, their own fears, and their own potential moves. You intended to share a vision. You have delivered an intelligence report, the neuroscience of your disclosure. There is a body of research that has quietly confirmed what strategists knew centuries before neuroscience had a language for it. Studies on social comparison theory, originating with Leon Festinger and expanded through decades of subsequent research, demonstrate that humans have a near-constant drive to evaluate their standing relative to those around them. This drive does not pause for friendship. It does not pause for love. It operates underneath both, invisible and relentless. When you share a bold ambition with someone inside your social circle, you are not speaking into a neutral space. You are dropping a stone into a pool of invisible hierarchies, insecurities, and self-assessments. And the ripples touch every surface. The closer the person, the more pronounced the impact. Your intimate circle does not process your success from a distance. They process it from inside the same room, where they measure their own worth. Here is the inversion that the unstrategic mind never arrives at on its own. When you stop disclosing, something shifts in the dynamic, not because you have become cold, but because you have become unreadable. An unreadable person cannot be threat assessed with accuracy. They cannot be positioned against. They cannot be subtly undermined because the undermining requires a target, and a target requires a known direction. Silence does not just protect your strategy. It restructures the psychological power dynamic in every relationship you hold. The person who does not know what you are building cannot calibrate their behavior around it. They cannot prepare a response to something they cannot perceive. They are, in the language of strategic operations, denied intelligence. And without intelligence, they are forced into a position that serves you, reactive rather than proactive. You become the architect of their uncertainty rather than the subject of their calculation. The emotional stack at this stage. You should feel something specific right now, not inspiration, not motivation. Something colder and more clarifying than either of those. You should be mapping faces, names, conversations where you spoke, and watch the subtle shift in the eyes of the person across from you, the moment of flatness behind the smile, the question that arrived just slightly too quickly after your announcement, the concern that felt strangely discouraging for something that was supposed to be supportive. You were not imagining those moments. You were reading the activation sequence in real time without the framework to name it. You have the framework now. I will show you next exactly who those people are, not as individuals, but as archetypes, behavioral patterns so consistent across human psychology that once you can identify the pattern, you will never again mistake the archetype for something it is not. Forget the idea of enemies and allies. That binary is for people who have not yet developed the resolution to see human behavior at its actual operating frequency. The world is not divided into those who want you to win and those who want you to fail. It is populated by something far more complex and far more dangerous than either category. It is populated by archetypes, behavioral patterns so deeply embedded in human psychology that they operate independently of intention, affection, or conscious awareness. The person running the archetype against you is not necessarily doing it deliberately. They are doing it because the pattern was installed in them long before you arrived, by their own insecurities, their own conditioning, their own unresolved relationship with power and progress. This changes nothing about the outcome for you. A knife does not need to be held with malice to cut. There are 4 archetypes operating in proximity to every person who carries a significant ambition. Learn to identify them by behavior, not by how they make you feel. Feeling is the instrument they exploit. Pattern recognition is the instrument that protects you. Archetype 1, the mimic. The mimic is the most immediately dangerous archetype in your circle because they operate with the highest degree of apparent alignment. They are enthusiastic about your vision, genuinely so, at first. They ask detailed questions. They want to understand the mechanics, the timeline, the resources, the partnerships. They position themselves as a collaborator, a co-conspirator, a fellow traveler on the same road. What they are actually doing is conducting an extraction. Forget the idea of enemies and allies. That binary is for people who have not yet developed the resolution to see human behavior at its actual operating frequency. The world is not divided into those who want you to win and those who want you to fail. It is populated by something far more complex and far more dangerous than either category. It is populated by archetypes, behavioral patterns so deeply embedded in human psychology that they operate independently of intention, affection, or conscious awareness. The person running the archetype against you is not necessarily doing it deliberately. They are doing it because the pattern was installed in them long before you arrived, by their own insecurities, their own conditioning, their own unresolved relationship with power and progress. This changes nothing about the outcome for you. A knife does not need to be held with malice to cut. There are 4 archetypes operating in proximity to every person who carries a significant ambition. Learn to identify them by behavior, not by how they make you feel. Feeling is the instrument they exploit. Pattern recognition is the instrument that protects you. Archetype 1, the mimic. The mimic is the most immediately dangerous archetype in your circle because they operate with the highest degree of apparent alignment. They are enthusiastic about your vision, genuinely so, at first. They ask detailed questions. They want to understand the mechanics, the timeline, the resources, the partnerships. They position themselves as a collaborator, a co-conspirator, a fellow traveler on the same road. What they are actually doing is conducting an extraction. The mimic does not have the internal architecture to generate original strategic vision at the level you are operating, but they have exceptional capacity for pattern recognition, rapid iteration, and social positioning. The moment you have handed them sufficient detail about your approach, your timing, and your differentiating logic, they will begin building a version of your structure using your own blueprints, not out of pure malice, out of the deeply human compulsion to close the gap between where they are and where they can see you going. You will notice the mimic by a specific behavioral signature. Their questions are always more detailed than the conversation requires. They are not asking to understand you. They are asking to replicate you. The enthusiasm is real. The alignment is strategic. The extraction is constant. The move against the mimic is simple and surgical, surface narrative only. You share the destination, never the route. You discuss the vision in the broadest possible terms and keep every operational detail locked behind the architecture of strategic silence. Give them the painting, never give them the brushwork. Archetype 2, the saboteur. The saboteur does not look like an enemy. This is the non-negotiable truth about this archetype, and the reason it causes the most damage over the longest period of time. The saboteur is typically someone who cares about you with genuine depth, a close friend, a family member, a long-term partner. Their investment in your well-being is real. Their love, if that word applies, is not fabricated, but love and strategic alignment are not the same thing. And in the presence of the saboteur, they are frequently in direct conflict. The saboteur's psychological operating system is built around a specific fear, not of you, but of change, of the version of you that succeeds at the level you are describing, because that version of you disrupts the equilibrium of the relationship as it currently exists. It creates distance, difference, and the terrifying possibility that the dynamic they have relied on, consciously or not, will no longer hold. So they intervene with concern, with realistic observations, with stories of people who tried something similar and failed, with questions about whether you have considered the risks, the downside, the people who depend on you, the things you might lose. None of this arrives labeled as sabotage. It arrives labeled as love, and that is precisely why it works. Every time you share your strategy with a saboteur, you hand them new material for the intervention, new specific details to generate new specific doubts, new angles of concern that land closer to the actual architecture of your plan. The more you share, the more precise the dismantling becomes. The move against the saboteur is not distance, it is compartmentalization. You do not remove them from your life. You remove your strategy from their access. You maintain the relationship at the level it genuinely offers value, and you build your empire in a room they do not have a key to. Archetype 3, the concerned ally. The concerned ally is the most sophisticated archetype on this list, and the most psychologically seductive, because they have mastered the language of support while operating from an entirely different agenda. Unlike the saboteur, the concerned ally is not driven primarily by fear of losing you. They are driven by a far colder force, competitive self-interest, dressed in the costume of friendship. They have positioned themselves in your circle as a trusted confidant, an advisor, a person with enough perspective to offer genuine strategic counsel. And they deliver that positioning with enough real value, enough occasional accuracy, enough genuine warmth that you have granted them access to your interior architecture. The concerned ally uses what you share not to replicate you like the mimic, and not to protect their relationship with you like the saboteur. They use it to manage their own positioning relative to yours. They are monitoring your trajectory in real time. When you are accelerating, they introduce friction, subtle, plausible, always framed as being in your best interest. When you plateau, they re-engage with enthusiasm and support. When you appear to be moving beyond their sphere of influence entirely, they execute their most sophisticated move, the strategic leak. They tell the wrong person, not everything, just enough, a detail here, a timeline there, a mention of a potential partnership or resource, always with plausible deniability, always with a framing that sounds protective. I mentioned it because I thought they could help. The result is that your strategy, your timing, and your competitive advantage have been introduced into a space you did not choose, and the playing field shifts against you before you have even made your move. The identification signature of the concerned ally is this: their support is conditional on your proximity. The moment you begin operating independently, the concern escalates. Watch for it. It is a tell. Archetype 4, the passive drain. The passive drain is the least dramatic archetype and the most chronically underestimated. They are not extracting intelligence like the mimic. They are not generating fear-based friction like the saboteur. They are not managing competitive positioning like the concerned ally. They are simply consuming your signal. The passive drain is the audience, the person who listens, who affirms, who nods and reflects back your vision in slightly simplified terms. They make you feel heard. They make the act of sharing your strategy feel generative rather than costly. You have seen the psychology. You have identified the archetypes. You have walked through 25 centuries of documented proof that silence is the structural foundation of every empire built to last. And if you are the kind of person who intellectualizes without installing, who collects frameworks like trophies and returns to the same behavioral patterns before the week is over, then everything you have absorbed to this point will dissolve back into the noise of your daily life within 72 hours. Knowledge without protocol is entertainment. This chapter is not entertainment. This is the operational system, the named, structured, executable behavioral architecture that translates everything you now understand into the way you actually move. It is called the Silence Protocol. It has 3 layers, each addressing a different dimension of your strategic exposure. You do not implement one layer and ignore the others. The architecture requires all 3 to hold structural integrity. Remove one, and the entire system develops a fracture point that a sophisticated observer will eventually locate and exploit. Install all three, and you become something that very few people in any room will ever encounter. A person who cannot be read. The 3 layers, an overview. Before examining each layer in full operational detail, understand the logic of the structure. The silence protocol is not a single behavior. It is a system of systems. 3 interlocking layers that address the 3 distinct dimensions of strategic exposure that most people never even identify as separate problems. Layer 1 addresses what you present. The surface narrative you allow the external world to consume. This is your public architecture, your visible story, the version of yourself that occupies the perception of every person in your professional and social environment. Layer 2 addresses what you disclose, the mechanics of selective information release within your closest relationships and operational circle. This is the most psychologically demanding layer because it requires the highest degree of discipline in the spaces where you are most emotionally invested. Layer 3 addresses what you project, the deliberate deployment of strategic misdirection to create intentional uncertainty in the minds of those who are actively attempting to read your trajectory. Each layer is a distinct skill set. Each requires separate attention and deliberate practice. Together, they constitute a complete operational posture, the behavioral architecture of the sovereign operator. Layer 1, surface narrative control. Every person operating in a social or professional environment is broadcasting a narrative, whether they intend to or not. The question is never whether you have a surface narrative. The question is whether you are architecting it deliberately or allowing it to form by default from whatever you happen to say, share, or reveal in unguarded moments. The unstrategic operator's surface narrative is simply the truth, their actual ambitions, their current projects, their real assessments of their environment, their honest frustrations and genuine enthusiasms. They broadcast this narrative because they have never been given a reason not to. The result is a public architecture that gives every observer, every archetype, every competitor and concerned ally in their environment a detailed and continuously updated map of their interior landscape. The silence protocol begins with a single foundational decision. You are not your narrative's author by accident. You are its architect by design. Surface narrative control does not require dishonesty. It requires curation. You decide in advance, deliberately, with full strategic awareness, what version of your activity and intention the external world is permitted to consume. This version is not false. It is incomplete by design. It contains enough truth to be credible, enough substance to satisfy the social requirement for visibility, and enough carefully maintained ambiguity to ensure that no observer can construct an accurate picture of your actual trajectory from what you have provided. The practical mechanics are direct. You speak in completed actions rather than future intentions. I have been working on X rather than I am planning to do Y. You discuss the past rather than the future. You engage with ideas rather than timelines. You express interest in directions without confirming movement toward them. You maintain what intelligence professionals call plausible ambiguity, a surface presentation that is technically accurate in every detail and structurally concealing in its totality. This is not deception. This is editorial sovereignty. The architect who decides what is shown on the facade is not lying about what is behind it. They are simply exercising their absolute right to determine what is publicly visible and what remains protected. Layer 2. Selective disclosure architecture. Even the most disciplined operator has an inner circle. A small number of people, a partner, a collaborator, a mentor, an operational partner who require genuine access to portions of your strategic thinking in order for the relationship or the enterprise to function. The question is not whether to disclose to this circle. The question is how to disclose with precision, rather than with the undisciplined generosity of someone who confuses intimacy with unlimited access. The selective disclosure architecture operates on a single governing principle. Access is tiered, and every tier is deliberate. You construct 3 distinct tiers of information access, and you assign every person in your life to one of them, not based on how much you love them or how long you have known them, but based on a cold assessment of their archetype, their demonstrated discretion, and the specific dimension of your operation where their involvement creates genuine value rather than strategic exposure. Tier 1. Operational partners. The smallest possible group, maximum 2 or 3 individuals, who are directly engaged in the execution of your strategy and whose interests are structurally aligned with your success. Not emotionally aligned, structurally aligned, meaning they win when you win, and they know it. This tier receives the operational detail necessary for execution, nothing more. Tier 2. Trusted adjacents. People whose relationship with you is genuine and valuable, but whose role is not operational. They understand your general direction without access to your specific mechanics. They know the destination without knowing the route, the timeline, or the resources being deployed. Conversations with this tier are conducted at the level of vision and principle, never at the level of tactical execution. Tier 3. Surface engagement. Everyone else. This tier receives your architected surface narrative and nothing beneath it. This is not a statement about their worth as human beings. It is a statement about their structural position relative to your operation. They are not inside it. Therefore, they are not inside your disclosure architecture. The warmth of the relationship, the depth of the history, the genuine affection you may hold for them, none of these factors constitute a reason for strategic access. The ghost phase is not for everyone in this room. The majority of people watching this will find a reason, rational sounding, self-protective, framed as wisdom, to stop at layer 2 of the silence protocol, to implement the behavioral changes without undergoing the identity transformation, to become more careful rather than fundamentally different. That choice is available. It produces real improvement. It is not what this video has been building toward. What this video has been building toward is the rare individual, the outlier who recognized themselves in the diagnosis of disclosure as identity validation, who felt the cold accuracy of the archetype maps, who understood at the level of the body rather than the intellect that they have been operating below their own architecture, and who is prepared to make the transition that cannot be undone, because the ghost phase, once completed, does not permit return. You cannot unknow what you now know about how you were being read. You cannot unfeel the structural difference between operating with validation dependency and operating from sovereign self-containment. The identity that emerges from the ghost phase looks back at the one that entered it with the same clarity that the architect looks at the rubble of the building they demolished to make space for something that will actually stand. There is one final word left in this video, a line drawn between the ones who consumed this content and the ones who will install it.